Good afternoon, everyone, and thanks for tuning in to another edition of Dogging It. It's Molina Mike here with my right hand man Panozo. And Panozo, I gotta start off the show with an apology to Joey because I got chewed out this morning or this afternoon because I didn't invite him on the last time. And full disclosure, I inv- I invited him this time, but he was busy with the family, so and
Well,
understandably
that's the
so.
thing. I mean, these are you got to be ready at a moment's notice. I mean, that's
Yeah.
why it's good to have someone like me who doesn't have a life. That I can jump on anytime. Joey,
Well,
he's
we're a bunch of sickos, So uh, it was funny because me and Mike were like, I think, 2 seconds away from hitting the live button earlier, and we're gonna go live like mid session. And talk about what had just happened with the final 16, and then we both look at the Q score and seeing that live
they
scoring
were
was already
starting to
coming
make
up.
yeah
Yeah,
yeah
so that's how we found out.
miscalculated the time change, the time
I'm
difference.
using I'm using fingers and
Yeah,
toes to
right.
figure out what time it is, so
Yeah,
it never gets any easier whenever it's out in Europe.
I never did
But
get military time, so
no, yeah, I'm having to do math and then use fingers, and it's just anyway. But we made it, and it's after an exciting day of what started off with the final 16, Mike, and it was a hell of a start. And I'm just gonna jump right
a
into it with the
lot of great
brackets.
pool, a lot of great pool today, right? I mean, everybody got their fill. That's for sure.
Well, Filler got his fill too, but we'll jump on that in a little bit later. It started off with him giving it to Jason, and what with I didn't get to see it, but I heard it was from start to finish that Josh just put on a show against Eagle Eye, and that was the
Yeah.
what Matchroom labeled as the box office matchup. I guess for me, it came up a little flat just based off of the score line, but Filler does what Filler does against Jason, and was really the favorite going into today, Mike.
Yeah, I mean he last couple of times he's played Jason, he's kind of run him over. So and Jason didn't play poorly today. I mean, the beginning of the match was weird with the whole nine on the break. Jason started off the match with the nine on the break, and it tracked right to the corner. Happened again a couple racks later, and they got in there and started. I mean, neither player wants to see that happen, so they got in there and got that sorted out. But Filler was just being Filler. He just was on fire, moving around the table. I mean, the balls aren't even done rolling when he's ready to shoot.
Yeah,
And anytime Jason did get a chance, I mean, he only won 3 games. So he had a dry break and a golden break, a dry break, and 2 scratches.
that scratch is always going to be looming with this style, Mike, because
Yeah,
you're going left to right, and if you go and carry him off a ball, or sometimes if you draw it too much, you're going to end up right in the side pocket. I saw it
yeah,
all too well whenever I remember Shane and Dennis playing their Iron Man match of doing that cut break with the 3 point rule. You're just always going to be flirting with it no matter what. It's always going to be in the air. There was some drama with that today, including what ended up being a phenomenal match between Ray and Albin, where Dennis makes it hill, and then of course the dreaded scratch on the side just ended up
yeah,
coming up. Um, but yeah, I mean, I don't know. Josh just seems to have Jason's number a little bit when it comes to these majors, Mike, and there's
yeah.
been some consistency. But then again, you can say Josh has had every big boy's number when it comes to any kind of event.
Yeah, I mean, there's, I don't care what your ranking is in the pool world. Your record against Josh in the past year isn't really good. So, no, he looked really strong against Jason. Jason didn't get a lot of chance. Like I said, he couldn't get started at all because every time he broke after that opening break, he just either scratched or came up dry, and that's not going to work against Filler. And Josh came up dry to break 3 times too. So this whole idea of the new break rule is really having an impact on the way these games are played, which is got to be frustrating for the players a little bit when you keep breaking dry or scratching or whatever. But it's making for some really interesting racks and some really interesting matches for sure.
Without a doubt, I think everything becomes a battle, becomes a bit tactical at some point. It's very rare that you'll see like these, one on the spot kind of post break layouts where everything's kind of just dressed up and it's
Yeah,
similar. It's it's quite the opposite, you know, where it's not going to be consistent at all. But I love that about it, and it really makes it really makes the meat of the match engaging to watch, because you're going to see a lot of tactical play, a lot of cat and mouse, as you put it, Mike. And I for one can certainly appreciate it. Not to mention the fact that I love these length of races, Mike, because it's not short enough where I'm unsatisfied after, let's say, you know, a race to 7. The race to
Yeah,
10 feels like the better player won. It feels like it can be a drag out battle. It feels like no lead can really be safe, especially when you have the inconsistencies of the break, Mike.
yeah, it's true. Although, I can't think of a match that we watched in the last day or so where someone's come from far behind. Um, so it's either been these 4-4, 5-5, 7-7, 8-8 matches, or it's been kind of a runaway.
Well, Josh
So I
came
don't.
from behind a couple of times, you know, and he was threatening a little bit. It seemed like he was just starting to knock on the door with Mario, but Mario, and we'll get to this in a minute, but
Yeah,
Mario just kind of was already, it was too far gone by the time
right.
that Josh ended up being, you know, becoming Josh.
Yeah, yeah. Josh did definitely um, had a big comeback earlier in the tournament, but I'm talking about like the last day as the lengths got longer, and now they start getting into hand racking and things like that. Um, it just seems like when players get behind, it's really tough to come back.
Yeah, for sure.
So
Hey, Ronnie's saying in the chat that we don't have any sound. So if you guys can hear us, if anyone you guys can hear us, hopefully after 7 minutes, we, we'd we'd find out. We'd find out otherwise. But
yeah,
if
I
you're able
think
to hear us, just let us know. Because if not, we're just looking like a couple of idiots out here.
yeah, we're
Um,
thankful. We're thankful to say that it's Ronnie's problem with the sound today, not ours.
all right, wonderful. Yeah, because we, Lord knows, we've had our fair share of audio issues over the last few weeks. But
Yeah,
yeah, no, it's, you know what, it. I understand what you mean. As far as coming back from behind, uh, I think every rack just becomes that much more vital the deeper that you go and get into it. But because of those inconsistencies, I feel like you're never really out of it. There's going to be a point in that rack, more often than not, just from a percentage standpoint, that you're going to have to come with it. We saw it towards the tail end of that Delgado and Fortunsky, where it's like that safety play is going to be massive, and you're
yeah,
still going to be in it as long as you can go and punch back whenever you need to.
yeah, yeah. It is. It's good to see these tactical battles, and it is making these final wrecks really dramatic, as opposed to you know these cosmos that you used to get with the one on the spot, and someone was breaking in the final. They were heavy favorite. Now, today I didn't see too many. If you got on the hill and you were breaking, I don't remember seeing anybody have a good layout on
No,
that
no.
on that break on the hill. And
Like most of the time,
that's your last chance to break, right? So
if it's the big boys, I'm thinking, okay, if they're breaking, I mean, it's pretty close that they're gonna go and have an easier layout and be out. When they're breaking on the hill, I'm like, all right, we still got a little bit of pool left to be played, because
yeah,
I think the other guy's gonna get a good chance at being able to, you know, claw his way, at least to go and hold himself available for that rack and give himself a chance in the following rack. And there's been a couple of guys who had some consistency, i.e., Mario today, where he could go and string some racks together. And
right.
even if it's two or three, Mike, those
That's a
little
big
things.
deal. These in this format, it's a big deal.
Listen, if it's like 9-7 and you see the guy starting to come in your rearview mirror, you know, you're going to start tightening up, especially, like I said, because you know that I'm not going to have that same successes or have that comfortability after the break like I'm used to my entire
Right,
career, Mike.
right, right. Yeah, no,
Yeah,
there was
it,
some. Yeah, it was interesting to watch the later stages of these matches today. I mean, Shane went through it with Sanjin. It looked like by all purposes, he should have kind of run away with this match. I thought he played much better than Sanjin, but you know, dry breaks, scratches on the breaks. I think Shane had 3 dry breaks against Sanjin and 1 scratch. And Sanjin, was even worse for him. He scratched 3 times on the break, and he had
at
two
pretty
dry
crucial
breaks.
times too, Mike.
Oh man,
Well, I mean, it was kind of brutal, but he also, there was a few execution mistakes from him, whether it's jumping and coming across the wrong side of the ball, or
yeah, yeah,
or safeties that I thought were very loose, and against a guy who shoots. as well as Shane does. Um, it seemed like for me, and I raved about Sanjin. I liked him coming out of that matchup. It seemed like it's just not, he wasn't ready just yet. But
Yeah,
it's still
it's not his time yet. He'll get there because he's got the
right,
firepower and he's got the temperament. But he's just, yeah, he's making mistakes now that he shouldn't make if he plans to win at this level, and mistakes you can't make against the best players. I thought he made
right.
some really good outs today. The one where he
Agreed.
jump banked that four ball length of the table off the top
Killer.
cushion was a pretty sporty shot.
Yeah.
He made some good shots and good outs. Got really unfortunate on the break a couple of times because a couple of those he got kicked in. I think it was
It was right in that
the
meat of the
last
match
game
too, Mike.
in the last game, which was it was 9-7, and that last game was just two guys tripping through the rack. I mean, it was just a brutal
Shane had
rack. I
ball in
think
hand and missed ball in hand.
he missed with ball in hand, and that
Yeah,
was
which
after
you never see.
Sanjin had committed that tip foul when he was getting ready to shoot a shot. His tip hit the three ball or something happened, and he fouled on that. Shane got ball in hand, missed the ball in hand, and then Sanjin makes the hanging one, and the
Scratches, I think.
cue. Well, yeah, but it came up straight up the table, hit the five, and angled to the other corner and went in.
Yeah.
It's just, at that point, you just throw up your hands and say, "Please let me out of here." This is not going
It may
well.
not be your day, son. After that,
It's not.
because
It's,
you just chalk it up and let the pool gods do what the pool gods
yeah,
do. But
definitely not.
I think this will go in will be something to go and look back on when it comes to his career as far as a stepping stone or something to go and build off of. We've seen him have successes, Mike, and that was something that the reason why I picked him what was because of those successes in other events with other promoters, but the matchroom stage is a little bit different. And I think given this run and the way he looked at times in this event, he's going to get a lot more opportunity from the way that he plays. And he's got a bright future ahead of him. Does Sanjin?
Yeah, well, and really for him, I mean, you saw him kind of cough up the lead in the World Games, and his famous nine ball against Josh in the European Championships, and today, being in that spotlight and not really um, having a good out, a good game, a good performance. What he really needs at this point, I think he's got the experience now. He's been through enough of these where he knows that the experience. He just needs to break through once. He looks like one of those players where if he can just get that monkey off his back once now, he could be off to the races with some pretty good performances.
I mean, he certainly has that kind of upside. He's got that ability to go and execute. Um, I get what you mean, Mike, as far as going and winning a major, but like anyone else, you got to go and threaten first, right? You got to have
Yeah,
moments in your
yeah,
career where, I mean, we saw it with Ruiz for the last few years, as a matter of fact, where he's knocking at 16, he's knocking at 32, he's knocking on the door at 8, he's knocking at 4, and then all of a sudden the dam bursts and here he is all over the place, playing on the last day. I like Sanjin's game a lot. I think he's great for the sport. I like the kind of showing your emotion a little bit and the roll of the eyes
yeah.
and kind of brushing it off your shoulder. Whenever you get that scratch in the side, because I know, Lord knows, I would have been annoyed, Mike. That's for sure. But it don't take a whole
Yeah.
lot for me. But there were some other matchups after today. I guess what you would call underdogs in Snagaki and Delgado going and winning in the following two matches. Jonas, for me, at least on paper, was a little bit of the favorite, even though I think Snagaki has more seasoning. Jonas
Yeah.
seems to be the more vogue name, at least in the last, let's say, 6 months. Um, and then in a matchup that I never saw coming, a guy who's still alive today, after today, rather, in Delgado, beating Ronald Regli, who I think is a great European player from Switzerland, Mike.
Yeah, good solid player. Had a lead on him. That was a match that Delgado did come a little bit from behind on. I think he was down 7-5, or it might have been something like that. So yeah, great performance from him.
I think he was
Um,
down. Yeah,
yeah,
early on in that match, if I'm not
right.
mistaken.
So that was a really strong match for him. A couple of the other matches in that first round, Conrad, obviously looked really good against John Mora, and Mario looked great. in his match. He looked, and you mentioned Mario yesterday as being your pick to kind of slide through. So that was a
Hey,
good pick because he looked, 2 matches
I
today. He
was
looked
swinging, Mike. I was
really.
gambling. You know,
Well, we all gambled. I gambled on more, and he got clobbered. But no, Mario Heap has played great. Obviously, we look ahead. While the one match we didn't talk about really a lot uh, in that round of 16 was the Dennis Grabe and Albin match, which was back
a
and
hell of a
forth the
match.
whole way. 6-6. Grabe had a lead. Albin came back, took the lead, went back and forth. Albin got to the hill first, and missed a shot. Missed a shot during what looked like to be like a relatively routine run out. And you had to wonder whether that was going to be his last shot because Dennis ran through the rest of that rack, breaking on the hill, and and then went
That
cross
brutal
side
stretch.
once with the cue ball and right into the side pocket. And I was texting a couple people in Boulder to go check on him because that would
Go
have been
check
one
the
of
bridge
those.
for old Dennis.
Yeah, head to the nearest bridge and take a header because Dennis doesn't handle losses really well to start with, and that's one that's going to really sting for a while.
It's tough because uh, these events you got to fade so many great players. He knows that all too well, playing in Euro tours, and I think his last one was back in 14. Um, Dennis had an opportunity at times in that match. I thought the level of play was subpar between
Yeah,
both players.
was.
I thought that Albin Al, Albin's got more experience in later stages of these events as far as
Right.
being able to go and finish. Now, what happened at the end was just bad luck, or whatever you want to go and call him. I know he didn't get kicked, but to go and have that scratch at that point, it's a bit of a kick in the stomach, you know.
Yeah.
Um, but at least you're in it, right? If you want to go and take some kind of moral victory out of it, Albin, we say it time and time again. Sometimes you got to go and dodge one in order to win one. But
Yep.
this event's a little bit it's different, Mike, because like we said, if, time and time again, I don't think you're ever safe no matter where it is that you're at because the break is so difficult. Um, I was kind of besides our dinner bet, I was kind of rooting for Dennis there for a little bit. But the one thing about Dennis, Mike, and it's a lot because of his mechanics. It doesn't matter where he's at in the rack. I'm never really sure, like confident wise, that he's gonna get out because sometimes he's got that hitch in his giddy up where he's putting that body English on it, and his form isn't necessarily what we're used to from some of these top guys, Mike.
Yeah. No, it's true. It's a good assessment. I mean, and it kind of shows in where he finishes. He's always getting close. He's always kind of there, and at the end when he's facing the big guys with a lot on the line, he's just not getting it done. So there, I don't know if there's something in his head at this point, or if there is a little something in his game that's a little bit off. But
But what was it?
yeah,
It was
that was a tough.
it was that last event where he just like butchered a nine at a really big spot, I think, to make it hill
Yes,
hill. I think it was a UK Open, maybe. I
might have
could be
been.
wrong, or maybe the
Yeah,
World. Oh no, he wasn't in the Masters. I don't think it was one of those events where I mean it was a really big spot, and it was a nine ball that you expect a player of his caliber to be able to put
yeah,
away.
I do remember
Um,
that. That was
and
another check. That was another check the local bridge
yeah,
moments. Yeah,
yeah, without a doubt. But it wasn't a lot. Listen, there was not anything short of the dramatics for this earlier round. We got down after that, Mike, for the final eight players, and that was for me just as exciting. It started off with
yeah.
Shane and oh no, actually, what did it start off with, Mike? It started off with Mario and Josh, didn't it?
Mario and Josh, and boy, did Mario come with the goods. I mean, right from the get go, he looked really comfortable, really solid. He's not going to be intimidated. He's just
But you're playing Josh as probably a top two favorite when
right.
Josh is winning everything, and you're playing in Germany, and you know that whole crowd who's ever there were rooting for him.
I
That's
guarantee that he
motivating.
knew that it was there, and I guarantee that it weighed heavy on him. He just doesn't show it a lot. He seems to really be able to hold himself together when he needs to. And in this match, I mean, he got out to a roaring start. And when he had the chance to break and run out, he ran out. He didn't make any really glaring errors. He really kept Josh in his seat. And, Josh looked like Josh had a couple chances later in the match to try to make a move. And he made some really uncharacteristic Josh mistakes. And
I mean, the whole match started with the Josh mistake. He's up 1-0, and he's got a two ball that he's playing off the rail, off the three.
boy, did he
A
miss
shot.
that by a he
Oh
missed
man,
that by a
I mean, it
ton.
was bad. It was
Yeah,
bad. I, mean,
he
I don't know if it was a miscue or what. I mean, I didn't hear it, but it's a shot that you expect to at least threaten. I mean, it looked like he was banking safe.
he
Aside
ended
from
up hitting
playing
the
that
three ball thick on the
on the
outs.
backside. Yeah, on the
Yeah, on the
backside.
backside. I mean, he missed that by so much. I couldn't figure out what happened on that one. I noticed the same thing. Yeah, that was a pretty bad miss.
And Mario hit him with 3 after that, Mike, the one that he
Right.
stole in that game, and then followed up with 2 more thereafter, and it's not something that, like we said in this format, that you expect to go and see, but it's what you needed to do against that guy, because that
Yeah.
guy, you do not wanna let your foot off your throat,
Yeah.
and I think Mario kinda caught a glimpse of that, but by then he's already on the hill at 10, when I think it was something like 10-4, 10-5, somewhere around there. Oh, no, maybe like
Yeah.
10-3-ish. But Mario just played phenomenal from start to
I
finish. His
think he was up
confidence was
9 to I
great.
think he was up 9-2, wasn't he? Or
I believe, yeah, I
uh,
think so.
yeah.
I think
So
so,
and then
Mike.
Josh won a couple games, and there was an interesting thing that happened in their match that I thought was kind of funny. Was Mario pushed out to a kick on a ball that was near the hole, and he missed it and sold out the game. And then later in the match, Josh set him up with the same shot, and Mario turned it down, and Josh made it. And Josh ended up not getting through that rack. But I thought it was really funny because when he left Mario that shot, I thought, okay, he knows what he's doing. He saw you
Absolutely.
try this and miss it. Are you game enough to try it again? You could see Mario kind of shaking his head like, if I give this up, there's about a 90% chance Josh is going to make this. But
You know it.
I missed the last one, so I'm going to give it up. And sure enough, Josh just fired it right in. I thought it was really kind of a funny, interesting, head game moment in a match. But like I said, Josh ended up not getting out of that rack, and I think that's what got Mario to the hill. But
You
yeah,
you
Mario
know
just solid all throughout.
you know all too well, covering this sport for the last, whatever it's been, Mike, 30 plus years. I don't want to
40.
I don't want to age you, Mike. Okay, 40.
40.
I was gonna say 40, and then I thought about it. I said you better just say 30, Mike, to be on the safe side. But you know all too well, covering this sport as long as you have. Pool players have a memory unlike any other. They're gonna go and
Yeah.
remember it, and especially something in that match. I guarantee you that Josh left it like that, knowing what had happened previously. It's that kind of gamesmanship that I like, because you're basically playing chicken with someone. You
Yeah,
know,
you are. You are. And it's not gamesmanship like you're really playing in someone's head. You're putting them on the spot. You're
right?
gonna test them. You're gonna test them.
You're gonna see who's
And
gonna blink.
yeah, right. And I thought that was a really good move by Josh, and he got the better of that. And Mario even mentioned it in his follow up interview after the match. That he said, Carl asked him about it because Carl saw the same thing we saw. Was he set you up for the same shot, knowing you had failed at it before, and were you willing to take a shot again? And he didn't. So luckily, for Mario, it didn't cost him. Yeah, it was really entertaining for a one-sided match. It was really entertaining because Josh is Josh, and you know that he's never out of it. And it was fun watching someone like Mario play this well in this spot in a big event. I was really happy for him because he's a really good guy and good player, and he's playing in been playing in Albin's shadow and in the
I was
past
thinking that
year kind
earlier
of in
too.
Max's shadow,
Yep.
and but he's a solid player. He's really solid on the Euro Tour, but in these big events, he's always kind of done well, but not let's get to the final four. So I'm really happy for him, really excited to see him get there. And he's got to go into tomorrow really confident, having gone through Josh to get there. Tomorrow doesn't get any easier because he's got Albin, who really did break well in his match against Conrad and seemed to really get some good looks. He was making a ball or two every break. So he looked really strong after the Dennis match. He really came back pretty solid against Conrad. Albin against Mario, wow, it's going to be a really good match, I think.
Mario's confidence did not go in like any, when his pocketing ability. He was hitting the balls really good, and I know
Yeah,
at the end of it, he kind of gave a couple away back to Josh, but to go and get up to that kind of lead, you all like when you watch Josh play, I never really get nervous, like if I'm Josh, because he always just does this where he can come back and he can go and punish you, and
Yeah,
he's never out of it. But Mario just never let up, and he was smiling the whole time as he's going and getting out, and just handling his business. I thought the style in which he played was just what was great, especially because of all the pressure. He really showed his poise. I'm really happy for him. I remember talking with Mario before the expo, and I was talking with him about his schedule, and he was like, "Yeah, I'll be in Philadelphia," and I was like, "Why? Why are you going to go to that event of all the events?" And he's like, "Well, I need points," and I think
yeah,
because of what happened with the World Cup pool, Mario's kind of had a chip on his shoulder. Maybe he feels
yeah,
a little disrespected, or maybe that he feels like he can step out of these shadows that he's been in, and be his own player. This today was one of those wins that shows exactly what he was hoping to go and achieve, and
right.
where he's at in points, he's got the ability to turn that Team Europe Mosconi Cup team on
Upside
its
down.
head,
Yeah,
upside down, Mike. Because if he
yeah.
goes and gets a big, and I don't remember what the payday is, maybe it's something like 30,000. But if
Thirty
you
thousand for
actually
first, but even second here, he's going to make a big move, and then he's still got the U.S. Open in front of him.
Right. Yeah, and he's got goals, and this is the way you go and achieve them, and it's with big pressure wins like this
Right.
will really put you on the map in big moments when it comes to separating yourself, like along with the likes of Josh and Albin. But boy, I couldn't help but root for him.
Yeah.
And of course I like Josh as well, but Mario's just he's a lovable guy, man.
He's
And
a great guy, and he got his Mosconi Cup taken away from him that one time with the testing positive for a substance and some medication he was taking.
yeah,
So felt so bad for him then, and he's a great talent, but he's not the type of talent that's you know on the short list every year for Mosconi. So
no,
I'd
no, no.
love to
He's
see.
one of these guys that you have to go and get it by points, because I don't think
Yep.
you're going to be picked, as far as the captain's pick, if you're Mario.
Yeah, no. So I'd love to see him, take I'd love to see him get to the final tomorrow. I'd love to see him take a nice runner at the U.S. Open. He's a guy that you'd love to see make the Mosconi Cup team because he's tried so hard, and he earned it once and didn't get to play, and he's kind of had that, like you said, that chip on his shoulder about a couple other instances where he's kind of an afterthought.
Yeah.
So you end up rooting for players like that.
Yeah, and I think a lot of it's because of his attitude along with it, both on and off the table. Um, he's gambling on himself here,
Yeah,
and he's delivering in big spots. And I like them because of what I had heard from people that I trust out there, and as far as how he was playing, opinions that I go and value, as far as how he's hitting the ball. Um, but there's big names, guys that can go and squash you just from a name standpoint, the likes of Josh Filler, the likes of Albin Ocean. I tell you what, if you go and end up getting to a final, and let's say if you end up beating it, let's say you beat Josh, if you beat Albin, and then you got to expect to be facing Shane, you want to talk about 1, 2, and 3 to go and knock
yeah,
down on the way to a win.
yeah.
And I know we're getting ahead of ourselves here, Mike,
We are a little bit,
but
but still,
there's
you
a
know, if
possibility for something pretty magical here.
if you're Alex Lely, are you excited about that possibility, or you're starting to get nervous?
Why don't you answer that question, Mike? Because I think I know what that response is going to be. He's got to force the hand, Mike, is what he's going to do. If you go and snap this thing off, beating those guys along the
Yeah,
way, you have
and
to
pick
be in
up
the
the thirty
discussion, Mike.
thousand on top of it. You got to be getting close, and yeah, but then again, I don't think you're ever rooting against anybody if you're the coach
Of course
because
not.
if this happens, then you're like, hell yeah, I'll take this guy. He's playing like a world beater right now. That's what you want. You want to play the guy with the hot hand, right? So if he can earn his way on at this point, God bless him, and let's see him play because he is a very likable guy. There's nobody who doesn't like Mario. He's not a whiner. He's not a
No.
complainer. He's not, he's a great guy.
He's got this. He's got as lovable as he is. He's got this like cold bloodedness about him, like that's very subtle, where he can be a killer
Because
and
it
he
doesn't show a lot of expression one way or another. You know,
Right.
he looks the same whether he's just shot and missed, whether he's winning, whether he's losing. He kind of just, and he's a big guy, so he's kind of, you just see him approach the table, and you're like, this guy's all business, and he
He
looks
is.
all business.
Well, you
Um,
remember, Mike, I mean, the year, I think it was the last year that Albin and him won the World Cup, he carried that team.
he
He
did.
came
Oh yeah,
he
he
came
won
with
the World
clutch
Cup for
shot
him. Yeah,
after clutch
yeah,
shot, and
yeah,
I don't wanna say Albin was the weak link, but Mario was the one that and I think Albin even said as much, that he wouldn't have won it
yeah,
if it wasn't
100%.
for Mario going and getting him there and pulling him, across the finish line. So he's got the ability. You can't help but root for him, but there was a lot of other matchups that ended up happening today. A little bit more, at least on the Shane matchup of Chalk. Delgado's continuing his Cinderella run. And boy, I tell you what, Mike, to go and win a hill battle and the manner in which that he won it
Yeah,
against Fortunski, there's a lot of positives to take away from that young man and his game, Mike.
yeah, for sure. I mean, 10-10, and Bertunski laid a great safe on him, and not only did he kick his way out of it, but he, left Fortunski with a tough situation and ended up getting beaten
It
into the
was a
shot.
phenomenal rack, Mike. I mean, it was
It
an
was a great
incredible,
rack. It
great
was a
rack.
great rack. Yeah, and that's what That's what's we keep going back to the new format and all that stuff. That's what's exciting about it. How many
Right.
times at Hill have you seen those kind of racks in recent years? Not a lot. I mean, I think of the David L.K. Jeremy Jones rack at the Montestoney Cup,
Oh, that
but
was a
but other
dream,
than
Mike.
that, it's the final rack is usually kind of somebody runs out. So no, it was a great rack. With that kind of tension, that kind of was at stake. It was a lot of fun to watch. Had to be brutal to play.
Wow. What's funny to me, Mike, is he looked good when the time came. He looked like, even though you had that tactical battle, that safety play, those kick shots, the kick saves, the bank saves, when he opened it up and he had to come with the shot, he came with it, and then he stayed in line and he didn't rattle. And that's something that I look for with these guys, because there's a lot of guys who, can go and make the shots they're supposed to go and make. And then there's guys that when it gets real tight, they can jaw one up. We saw it in
Yeah,
Kazakis for a lot of years when the pressure really started to go and ratchet up, Mike, that he can go and leave one up. That kid looked really sharp.
yeah,
I guess if you're sparring with the likes of David and Jonas and Ruiz for the last few years, you're gonna be toughened up, and it looked like it's proved, like it's paid off today, Mike.
yeah.
He's in a Final Four of a major.
No
I
kidding.
don't.
I mean, it just and we talked a lot about in the last day about how well the Polish players did here, how they had four in the final eight. I mean,
Where are they
four
at,
in the
Mike?
final 16, three in the final eight. The Spanish players did pretty well here too. Jonas and Delgado. Leaving David and Francisco in their wake. On their way into these final stages. So good for them. You could see them all crowding around, hugging it out
Oh,
after
you can hear
Delgado
them, Mike.
won. That was
When
so cool.
how how great are those? Like, if for years, if you ever saw David playing a match, Ruiz is close by, and vice
Yeah,
versa. If you ever go to a tournament and Ruiz is playing a match, David's somewhere around there going and sweating his
yeah,
guy. And it's the same way with these young kids that are the following their footsteps, and they support each other. They got a lot of passion, a lot of
yeah,
excitement, a lot of yelling and screaming,
yeah.
and but it's all positive. It's not like arrogance or anything like
No,
that.
no, they're having
Um,
they nobody has more fun than those guys, right? So
yeah,
yeah, no, great to see, and that it's a good. It'll be very helpful, I think, for Delgado tonight. Looking forward to tomorrow. That he's not the lone guy from some country, someplace, sitting in his hotel room alone, wondering what's going to happen tomorrow when he plays Shane. He's going to spend the evening hanging out with Francisco, with David, and he's going to get a
champions, Mike,
lot of
champions.
yeah, and they're going to help him a lot tonight in how to get himself settled for tomorrow. I think that, I would assume it would be a really good thing for him to have those guys around tonight as he comes up against the biggest match of his career on a big stage tomorrow against. the reigning world champion. So, that's a real bonus for him to have those guys in his corner hanging out with him right now, 100%.
Oh, I mean, even if they're not there physically, just to go and have them a phone call away, whatever the
Yeah,
case may be. Um, no, having people that have your back, it means the world. Just lifts up your spirits,
yeah,
right, and just puts you in a better place mentally. He's obviously going to be a favorite. I mean, I'm sorry, a underdog and a massive one at that. Going to, I think the race is going to be 11. He's at least got to be a 3-game dog, if not 4 games, which it's up against it. And but you got Shane. Shane's had a great year, um, but he's kind of free rolling, and free rolling players with a lot of ability can be dangerous.
yeah,
So
sure.
as much on paper as you may go and think that Shane may be stealing, or at least a lot of people may go and think that, I'm really looking forward to watching this matchup in particular, Mike, um, just to see. Let's find out what you're really made of here, because Shane's a big test for you, and you're going to be able to know where you're at on the map. But either way, what a hell of a tournament for this young man.
Yeah, great tournament for him. As far as Shane, what did you think about Shane's quarterfinal matchup with Snagaki? Um,
Um, you know, I thought Snagaki had chances. I think the break was really brutal for him.
break
You
was brutal for both of them. I mean, Shane
know,
was
right.
dry on the break at least 4 times, and I can't remember. Yeah, he scratched on the break as well. It was a rough. Shane was not breaking and getting the looks that he's used to getting. So I think tomorrow, how he comes out breaking is going to have a lot. It's going to have a big impact on whether Delgado can feel like he can stay in the match or not.
Well, let's ask some people in the chat. Who do you think comes through tomorrow in the semifinals? Shane, Delgado, Albin, and Mario. Let us know, and then also let us know who you got as the overall winner of the event. It's going to be an exciting final day. I like I said, when you're free rolling, uh, you have a chance for something special to go and happen. Shane's a big boy, but Shane cannot go and get 3 or 4 if you're struggling with the break the way that you expect. And I think that's something that'll lend itself to at least have the kid be in the match, because that's all you want, right, Mike? You want to
Right,
have you want to have a puncher's chance leading into maybe that 7-7, 8-8 kind of round where you're
right.
playing a shorter race. He showed today against Fortunsky that when it really can get a little tight, he can come with a little bit, and he can go and play that tactical battle. It's going to be a hell of a last day. A lot of guys are saying SVB Albin. I think those are probably the sexier matchups and the marquee matchups that I think Matchroom
Yeah.
probably wants the same thing. But I tell you what, I'm going to ask you, Mike, the same thing, because now we're going to be down to 4. And who do you think is the favorite? Let's start from top to bottom. Who's your first favorite? And then let's go down the line there, Mike.
My final, I like SVB and Mario. I like Mario tomorrow against Albin.
You
I
can't pick
think.
my guy when he wasn't even one of your picks yesterday, Mike. Oh
Well,
man.
I'm just picking him in this match,
All right, all
against
right.
Albin. I'm not picking him in the final. No, I like Mario's chances. I mean, he's certainly going to be comfortable playing Albin. There's that friendship off the table. There's that long time, partnership on the table. And Mario's playing, just jam up the last couple days. So I don't see why tomorrow he doesn't come in relatively loose and comfortable and can swing away. As far as Delgado, I believe this is going to be his first time on the actual TV table. So that's it's going to be a little bit of a learning curve there.
The
And you're
world's
not,
gonna be watching, Mike.
and the world's going to be watching. And Misko's a great player, but you're not playing Misko. You're playing reigning world champion who just walks up to the table, and you got to get a little nervous. So,
It's true.
I'd like to see it be a good match. I like good matches. I like close matches. I think, Shane's obviously a heavy favorite in that. Albin and Mario, what do you think? That like a game difference?
No, I think
Think as
just
much as
from
two?
yeah, I think Mario's at least a 2-game dog against Albin. But I'm gonna say this, and this is what I was gonna mention to you. Like, if you take the name and the resume away. If I'm just looking at the player and how they play
Right.
today, Mario for me was the best player that I saw today go and hit a ball,
Today, no doubt. No
without
doubt
a doubt.
about it.
But there's a guy out there, and he knows his game very well, who is a closer, who wins tournaments consistently. It's remarkable what Albin has been able to accomplish the last couple of years, and he's still doing it, Mike. It's
Yeah.
unbelievable because nine ball is so tough to go and fade, but then to still have this kind of consistency, I
Yeah.
can't. It's so hard in sports, and ask Shane, how hard it was to go and get back to even a nine ball championship world final, right?
Right.
Um,
Right.
but if anybody knows Albin's game, it's that guy sitting across from him tomorrow.
No
It's
doubt
it's
about it.
it's Mario. And if Mario can play a similar game to the way he played against Josh, I think Albin is going to be up against it. I think it's going to be a fantastic matchup. I hope it's back and forth. I hope they're both slugging it out. Um, Albin winning a lot. Maybe I'm kind of rooting for Mario a little bit, just from a
Yeah.
from an underdog standpoint. And I'd love to. I wouldn't be any less disappointed if it's Mario and Shane versus if it's Albin or Shane. Because if it's Mario versus Shane, it's like, okay, can the underdog go and get there, or
Yeah.
can
Yeah.
Shane go and get another major? I mean, he's already a lock for Mosconi Cup, so the points don't matter for him.
Right.
Points matter for Mario right now.
Right. They
You know,
do big time.
yeah.
There's a lot at stake for Mario. He's got a lot on the line. So we'll see if that hungriness, if that hunger adds too much pressure to him or makes him bear down more.
Well, see, I
It's
don't
good.
think you can get any less, like any more pressure, other like compared to beating Josh in Germany on the TV table, in the middle of the day or evening, whatever it was, and everyone's watching. Nobody's really giving you a shot because Josh is Josh, right? So from that standpoint, I'm excited to go and see him take a swing. I really am. But I tell you what, the only thing that'll go and make it really crazy is if the kid can go and pull off an upset down below in in Delgado, man. Because if he beats Shane, then you really got to love that matchup up top for the winner to be able to come through. I mean, no,
Yeah.
and it's only because the kid has never gotten there, so no one's ever seen him play in a major
Right.
final. But
Right.
Delgado, you can't help but go and be happy for his event, but you got to think that Shane's going to come with it. Shane's intimidating, not just on the
Well,
table, but from his ability to go and put a rack away.
yeah. Well, Delgado's not, uh, yep, had more going for him, but it kind of reminds me of everybody was kind of preordaining Shane in the final last year. Um, of which event was it where Yap played the final? But he steamrolled Shane into semis
The
to get
U.S.
to the
Open,
title
Mike,
match. It was the
is
U.S.
U.S.
Open.
Open. Yeah,
Steamrolled
when
Shane to get it.
Shane's
So
going for 6.
yeah. So that so things like that can happen. I mean, that was different. Obviously, Yep put together a 4-pack or a 5-pack. He kept Shane the seat
Oh,
for a
from
long time,
from
which
out the
is
gate, from out the gate,
yeah,
he started
which
on
is not going to be probably not going to be the case tomorrow with the new format. But it can happen. These guys can jump up there and all of a sudden just play lights out and shock anybody. So should be two really good matches tomorrow. Should be a lot of fun to watch. Um, yeah, I'm looking forward to it for sure.
All right, Mike. Who's gonna be crowned the European Open winner after tomorrow?
Shane.
God, of course,
Well,
of
listen,
course,
I've already
of
picked. I've already
course.
picked the
I don't even know
final.
why I even asked this question.
Well, no, I'm just looking at it from a match by match standpoint. If I pick
Oh yeah.
Mario to reach the final, then I like Shane. If I'm wrong and Albin plays Shane in the final, then I would bet on Albin. It would be a rematch
Yeah,
of the World Championship. I would like Albin's chances at
it
that
would be
point.
Mike.
So yeah, if
It's
it's
got a lot
Shane
of
against
storylines. Not just that, Mike.
right,
Mosconi Cup. You got to think those are the
right,
two alphas on their team. Even though we know Josh got picked first, Albin is the leader of that European Mosconi Cup team for all intents purposes, or maybe adjacent. But I still think Albin is, what Darren Appleton was. That's what I think Albin is to this team. And he knows how to win. He knows how to win in big spots. I'm gonna move for
Have you
Mario.
ever watched anybody win as much as he does and look as disgusted with his game as Albin does?
No, man. And you know what? I was gonna message you
He
this, Mike,
walks
because
around the table and shakes his head in disgust
oh, he's
every
never
time
seen
he
a shot that he
shoots.
loves. It's always just like this position play that he does just makes him
Yeah.
sick, you know? And then you know when Albin doesn't do what he's supposed to do because when the other players at the table, what you'll hear, and if you turn up the volume on your television, you can hear it every time. You'll hear the clanking of carbon fiber as they go and smack together because Albin just throws his cue up against his seat in utter disgust of the way he just hit
Yeah.
that ball.
I
Um,
wish my game could be as loose as his.
yeah, I mean, but he got away with some today. I think tomorrow's
Yeah.
matchup's gonna be amazing for him. That one I'm intrigued to go and really watch. It's he's fun to watch, even though he just wins, and maybe some people go and say he's a little boring. I like that emotion that he goes and gives. I personally love it. I love it for the game. I want to see guys go and have more of that. I want to see the Spaniards go and root and cheer for their guy every
Yeah.
rack against SVB. I
They're
think
going to
that
be
it'll
doing that
be
tomorrow. They're going to be loud tomorrow. You can guarantee that.
oh yeah, for sure. But I mean, Shane's been there, and Shane is Shane's a big favorite. And if you're Delgado, you have to give it to him like Mario gave it to Filler. Does Delgado have that kind of gear? I don't know. I haven't seen enough of it to go and be able to bet on him a little bit. But I'm excited. It's going to be a hell of a final day, Mike, and I'm looking
Yeah, it
forward
should be
to it.
great. It's going to start early.
Is it? What time is it going to start?
It starts 5, I believe.
In the morning? Oh
Or
man,
yeah, it's because I think they said noon and 1:30.
let me see.
So
Let me
noon
just take
minus
a look here.
7. Noon
Oh yeah,
minus 7 is
it is
5.
noon. It is noon, and it's
Yeah,
going to be that Albin and Mario matchup starting the day off. So
yeah.
I guess it's going to be an early day, Mike. But I'm excited. I'm going to go
Set the alarm.
for yeah, for sure. I'm going to go with Mario to shock the world, not just beat Albin, but I'm also going to go and root for Mario in his final if he goes and plays Shane, just because I want to see him kind of turn the European Mosconi Cup team on its head. Um, it'll really be just wide open after that because if he steals one of those automatic picks, then Federer's pretty much gone for my money because I think you can go and have Jason be the captain's pick. So there's a lot of storylines that can be played
Yeah,
out starting tomorrow morning at 5 a.m. Mike.
yeah, yeah. No, it's going to be fun. It's going to be
Yeah.
fun. You're talking about the Josh already locking up one of the automatic picks. Um, with Mario and Albin both being this deep into tournament, that Albin all of a sudden becomes in the picture for an automatic. So it's going to be interesting if you're looking at that second and third
Yep.
automatic, and you've got Francisco, Albin, and if Mario does well here, Mario, then it becomes a little tricky. Then the U.S. Open, like I said, like we said before, the U.S. Open is going to be just
Massive.
talk about scoreboard watching. Oh, these poor players are going to be their guts are going to be tied up in knots.
I mean, they're playing for, or they would be playing for essentially a minimum 15,000 with a pretty good shot at getting 30,000
Sure.
because Europe's going to be that kind of favorite, that kind of yeah, I mean at least probably like 3-1 on the money favorite to go and beat the American team. So there's a lot at stake here starting tomorrow, 5 a.m. Central. You guys can check it out on Dazen. I know I'll be up and I'll be sweating it, and then we'll come back. If they have a break, Mike, we'll come back and we'll preview the final and see how
Yeah,
our
I
picks are
think
looking.
it's 5,
And then one, and then
6:30, 5.
no,
It's Central Time. We're talking 5 a.m., 6:30 a.m., and then the finals are at what
six.
time?
No, so it'll be noon,
11
3:30.
a.m.
Yeah, and then
So,
6.
so the finals would be at 11 a.m. Central Time.
Yeah, yeah.
So,
So
so yeah, we'd probably have a little window in there to throw our 2 cents in there for the final match.
If Delgado beats Shane, I'm deleting the page. Windows open. I'm deleting. Um, I, I'm shutting off my Facebook and whatever coming back on again. If Delgado goes and shocks the world. No, I'm kidding. It's gonna be either way. Like I'm really excited no matter what happens
Yeah,
tomorrow.
yeah.
There's a ton of storylines, a ton of Cinderellas. I got to tell you, Mike, this format kind of works for me. I'm not gonna lie, it
I
really
like
does.
it.
Yeah,
I like
I mean,
it.
I
So let me ask you this. I know you probably want to bolt, but um, I heard some comments today about why switch to manual racking at this point. The template rack has worked fine with the new break format. Thoughts on that?
um because of the tactical play, I can see sticking with a template rack because it's not for the sake of time, right? Because I saw a lot of referees, especially as it got really thick, spend a lot of time really trying to get the
Yeah,
rack dialed in. I don't think it's as weighted because you're not having a wing ball go and fly in for
yeah,
you,
right,
Mike. So
right,
I'd rather just and you already have enough of the back and forth already as it is.
right.
So for me, I kind of would stick with the
Yeah, and
template just because of long.
you take the referee out of it as far as anybody blaming the referee for shit racks or good racks or whatever. So you
Right.
kind of take them out of the equation, which isn't a bad thing. I was kind of for the only instance I think that it makes difference is if they're not racking well and the nine's moving a lot, which it did at the beginning of the day. But for the rest of the day, I thought the nine stood up pretty good. It got kicked around a little bit more, but that's happening with all these racks because balls are flying everywhere. But it's not tracking to the corner pocket, and it really hasn't been tracking that much to the bottom rail either. A couple inches off its spot, but that's about it. So if they can keep it to that, then I don't see a big difference. I
I'd
think that it,
I'd be good. I'd be good either way. I mean, with the one on
yeah,
the spot, it makes a massive difference. You get a lot more complaints from the players, and I understand it from a one on the spot standpoint. But yeah, for me, it's kind of just an afterthought. Like I don't. The only problem with me is just the amount of time that it's taken to physically go and do it versus with the template. They're on with their business, on to the next rack. I don't want to see referees going and hunched over, you know, checking left and right for each gap.
yeah,
Let's kind of get the show on the road because you're already going to have like from a percentage standpoint, there's a good chance you're going to have a longer than normal rack versus a one on the spot. So let them go play pool, and like you said,
yeah.
take them out of the equation. Let the pool players stay on that stage because you would hate it to be like, well, I got a terrible rack, but nothing's automatic. So I don't even know how you would even go and say that, right? I mean, obviously, if the ball spread a little funky and you hear the clank of it being a little loose, but it was never an automatic you were going to get down a ball anyway if those balls were frozen. Does that make sense, Mike?
Right. It does.
So
It does. I just think though, if they use a template through the whole tournament, and you're never going away from that, over time it's going to be you know more dialed in as
you
far
think they're
as
going to be able to figure it out?
enough where it's going to change it a little bit. I don't think it's ever going to be as easy as when the one is on the spot, but if they make the one every time, and all they have to start worrying about now is where everything else goes, I think it will get worked out a little bit. I like
I
anything that
just
adds just a little more unpredictability to it, as long as it doesn't change the game. Like I said, by having the nine track to the bottom rail or to the corner, I like the inconsistency a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, time will tell because those guys are they're gonna figure out some level of consistency with the other balls, but with that cue ball just swinging left and right
Yeah,
and going
right.
back and going back in the pack the way that it does, I mean, I don't know that we'll ever quite get there. It'll never be like Corey getting his hands on
Dialed
them.
in, right? Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah, yeah.
yeah,
But either way, I mean, for me, it's been a home run. The event's been a
yeah.
home run.
100%.
I'm really excited to go and see this Final Four. And who knows, Mike? I mean, if it's Amaro versus Delgado, boy, I tell you what, you can really go and get some popcorn ready because, uh, I mean, who knows, right?
Yeah, no,
It's
crazy
really
stuff has
that kind of
happened.
up in the
So yeah,
air.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Fun stuff.
Anyway, we'll be back tomorrow. Preview the final. Thanks a lot for you guys for tuning in. Make sure and share and like the stream. And Mike, I hope you'll come back as well during that break, my man.
I'm not like Joey. I got nothing going on, so call me anytime.
All right, buddy. We'll do.